Pre-season testing in Bahrain just ended, and it was kind of chaotic, to say the least. Drivers are worried about the racing and the car, with the grip levels and everything. And then the question about who is going to take the title, constructors and WDC. And yeah, I thought I was going to talk about this a little bit quickly here. So yeah, let's get into the video. Okay, so let's talk about the car. The drivability, kind of shit. From what I've seen and what I've heard from drivers, doesn't seem to be very positive. They always complain that there's basically no grip. From what I've seen from the testing, you cannot see cars losing grip at very many corners, especially turn 10 or going wide at turn 10. So yeah, the drivability seems to be difficult at the moment, but that could obviously change during the season or right after Australia. I'm still positive and optimistic that this is going to be a great car and a great season. And yeah, the drivers' thoughts are mostly negative. Max Verstappen say that this is basically Formula E on steroids. And that doesn't really sound like a compliment to F1. My thoughts are that these type of cars with low grip are going to benefit those that can adapt to it and is maybe used to a low grip car. Let's say Lewis Hamilton, he seems to like the car. He likes lower grip cars, and he said that he actually likes this car. This car can definitely be beneficial for some people. I'm also thinking about Max Verstappen. He's very adaptable. He could like drive a tractor into 5th place and I wouldn't be really surprised. I think everyone will learn how to drive this car, and hopefully we can see some good racing. And speaking of racing, from what I've heard or seen, I haven't heard anything positive about the racing. I think it was Charles Leclerc that said that it's hard to overtake. And he said that in testing. That's not a good sign. Like, to say that it's hard to overtake when you are testing the car, that can't be a good sign. And I've also heard from other drivers that it's hard to follow. It's probably going to be that way, but hopefully that changes during the season or directly after Australia maybe. But we'll see. The starts, I think, is a pretty interesting thing to talk about also. Are they going to change it so that everyone gets the same amount of time of revving before starting? Or are they going to make it as it was last year, where the people at the front will have more time revving than the people at the back, so it becomes more of a bigger gap between P22 and P1. I hope that they change it so that everyone gets the same amount of revving time, but I guess we'll see. Okay, so to the testing itself. A lot of things to talk about. I think I have written like 10 topics. So let's start with the sandbagging. At least top teams are saying, I'm not the best, they are the best. So Ferrari says that Mercedes is the best, and Mercedes is saying that Red Bull is the best, and Red Bull is saying that Ferrari or McLaren is the best. So no one wants to claim to be the fastest. And I think the reason for that is obviously to surprise in Australia. So if Mercedes like sandbagged a lot during this testing, then they can kind of surprise the competition when they get to Australia. And when they claim that they aren't the fastest, and it looks like they aren't the fastest in Australia, then they can say that we were correct. But if they are the fastest in Australia and they sandbagged in testing, then they can say, whoa, we were the fastest. What a surprise. I think it's a pretty boring way to go about things, but I can kind of get why they do it, I guess. It's a safe option, I guess, so. The compression ratio situation with Mercedes. So Mercedes, I'm not the engineer, I don't really understand exactly what it means with the compression ratio, but I know that it's something with the pistons inside the engine, and that you can compress the fuel more in a Mercedes engine right now than maybe a Ferrari. That's kind of how I understand it. And this has obviously been talked about a lot. First it was okay, I think. Then it wasn't okay. And then Mercedes suggested to make the fuel less potent from Petronas, so that they lose a little bit more horsepower, but they don't have to change the engine, because that could take months or even years to change. And then I think that was also not okay according to the FIA. So I don't really know what the situation is at the moment, but that is what I've heard from it. And I think that's a very interesting conversation. Like, is Mercedes going to have to change their engines to Australia in like 2 weeks? I don't think they can do that. If they can have the compression ratio as it is, how faster are they going to be compared to the competition? Toto is saying that this situation is basically bullshit, that they aren't allowed to have this. And my opinion on this is that I love that they are experimenting and innovating something new. I love that. That FIA bans it is kind of like, sure, because you want close racing, but this is what makes Formula 1. It's not a spec series, it's Formula 1. Innovation is what makes the sport excel than other sports. Like, the engineering side is more impressive than the racing most often. But like, when they ban it, it kind of shuts off the competition of innovation. I understand that Mercedes obviously wants to keep this because it's faster, obviously. Who wouldn't want to be faster? But I also understand that FIA wants to ban it, maybe, because if it's like they are 20 seconds a lap faster than the competition, then that's just pretty boring. That's basically Red Bull in 2023 with Max Verstappen. So I think that Mercedes should be able to have this engine, and I do like the suggestion to make the fuel less potent is reasonable from Mercedes to say. So hopefully they figure it out. I don't know if they're going to, and I don't know if this situation is even solved at this point. So yeah, let's get to the next point, I guess. Teams' performances. It's pretty obvious that it is the same top 4, but maybe in a different order. So it seems like Mercedes and McLaren is the fastest, and then Ferrari has the most consistent engine or car, it seems like, and Red Bull is kind of a combination of those, from what I've heard from like Crash Happy podcast. Shout out to them. But anyway, consistency is key, of course, but the fastest is also important. So I think a combination of those could be very strong. So maybe Red Bull. They haven't been the fastest in any session. Fact check me. But yeah, so I think that Red Bull could be very strong, but I think I value consistency more than fastness at the moment. So I would love to see a Ferrari WDC. Charles Leclerc definitely deserves a WDC. Okay, next point. Aston Martin and Fernando Alonso. I don't think Dano Skill is going to like this point. It's not looking good for Aston and Fernando. We'll see if Fernando will stay another year, if this year is not that good. If Aston Martin can figure out the engine, the car, and everything like that. We were promised more than this, and I do hope that they can figure it out. From a senior to another, Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari. It seems like the opposite of Fernando's case. He seems to like the car, and he seems to be pretty fast also. So I really hope that Lewis gets a better year than 2025, because he definitely deserves it. Like, he got that win in China in the sprint. Maybe we could see a podium or a win from Lewis this year. I would really love to see that, because that will motivate him to be better this year, of course. Okay, so a little bit about innovations. One thing, basically, the back wings. Now that they have less restrictions about exactly how the back wing is opening, and then that have gotten to the creative minds at paddock. So I think the coolest one is definitely Ferrari. We'll see how consistent that opening is, if it's going to cause any problems, because it is kind of slow going around, because it's going 180 degrees instead of like going like that. It's like going like that. I think that's super cool. I love the idea. I'm just a little bit worried about how consistent it's going to be, because it feels like it's a lot of moving parts. It's a lot of stuff that could go wrong maybe, but I'm pretty confident that it's going to work at least. And then we have like Alpine, I think it was, that doesn't have any like top part of the wing. Very cool also. I think it's very interesting to see that teams are innovating differently. They come to different conclusions. I love that. To the kind of main part of this video. What are my predictions and thoughts after the preseason testing? Who is the team to beat? I think it's at the moment, between the 4 teams, obviously, McLaren, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari. Those 4, obviously, as last year also. I think the least likely at the moment could be Red Bull or McLaren, and after that it's Mercedes and Ferrari, obviously. I think Ferrari and Mercedes is the 2 teams to beat. But I do think that Mercedes is the team to beat, because they have this compression ratio thing that the other teams don't seem to have. And I do think that all the Mercedes engine teams are going to do great this season. So that also brings McLaren into this conversation again, even though I said that they're probably not going to be the fastest. So I'm going to put Ferrari in P2, and then I will say McLaren and then Red Bull. So those are my top 4. Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren, Red Bull. Is that what I said? I think so. I have a question here. Can McLaren keep their title? I don't really think so. I think Mercedes is going to take probably both titles in constructions and WDC. So I don't really think that McLaren is going to take it. Unfortunately, I kind of want to see Oscar Piastri winning the title this year. McLaren can still be in the conversation, but I do think that Mercedes is the top dog here. Okay, so midfield competition. Okay, so who's going to be the top of the midfield? Looks like Haas, and then maybe Williams, I would say. After that, Racing Bulls didn't seem too bad. Cadillac also looked pretty good for a while. Aston Martin is not looking good compared to the expectations we had. So I think P5 Haas, maybe. I would love to see more from Oliver Bearman. He's an amazing driver, young talent, and then Esteban Ocon is very experienced, of course, but French. Okay, so when it comes to the midfield, I would say Haas, Williams, Alpine, maybe because of the Mercedes engine. I think that could push them forward. Either Audi or Racing Bulls. I think I'm gonna say Racing Bulls, Audi, Aston Martin, Cadillac for the midfield competition. Those 7 in that order. I don't remember it now, so I will have to edit that in. And then who is going to take the title? George Russell. I think that's still my favorite at the moment. He's an amazing driver. He just needs the car, and I think 2026 could be the year of the Mercedes comeback, I guess. I would say that Max Verstappen is always in the competition. Charles Leclerc seems to be in the conversation also. After that, Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris still, maybe Kimi Antonelli. After that, I don't really see too many more that could be WDC competitors. And yeah, those are basically my thoughts about preseason testing this year. I might not be the most knowledgeable about exactly everything in the preseason testing this year, because I was pretty busy, but I still wanted to make this video, talk about it a little bit. So I think I'm gonna leave this video here. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, like the comment and subscribe the share button. Do that now, please. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Also, what do you think about my hair? I don't usually have it out, but I did this time because I started to liking having it out. I've been bored about the man bun. Comment about that also. If you watched to this point, you get a cookie. Okay, bye.